Coach, another big win, third straight. What are some thoughts after tonight's win?
That was a fun game. We they're a really good team, very well coached, really different style of play than anything that we've encountered up to this point. I don't think there was a ball screen set in the entire game, but so much movement away from the ball, flare screens and curling, and just a lot of really good hard off ball cuts and movement. So, we had to spend a lot of time trying to prepare for that because it is so different. I thought, I was really pleased with our execution of our scout for the majority of the game. But it was a good win for us. Having Sol be able to get back in the lineup, I thought gave us a big boost. She did an excellent job of kind of playing within herself and being what we needed her to be out on the court. That being said, down the stretch in the fourth quarter, we need to learn from our lack of execution at the end of the game and giving them an opportunity to really get back in it there. But overall, very pleased with the win against a really quality team.
Yeah, as you mentioned, that fourth quarter, what went wrong? Not necessarily wrong, but what did Lehigh do to kind of chip away in that fourth quarter at the end?
I think a combination of things. I think we got in foul trouble. So I think then we'd gotten up a nice lead. With some really good defensive plays and getting out in transition, some easy baskets. We'd pushed our lead and then got in foul trouble a little bit. I think part of it is having a young team, and I think we had a lead, and I think we thought the game was done, and clearly it wasn't. And so kind of a cascade of errors leaves the door open. We don't make free throws. We have some silly turnovers. We have some offensive rebounds that we shoot up a quick shot and give them another chance. With time on the clock, we let them execute on almost all of their special situations and plays after timeout. So just then the momentum swings and then we start to get tighter and they start to feel a little more confident. So the good news is that we were able to still find a way to win that game and with a young team and have an opportunity to learn, go back and watch the film and go through, okay, this is what we need to do when we're in this situation next time, because we do have a young team and, all the mistakes that we made, we still beat a very good team.
Overall, offensively, shot 55%. That's a season high for the team. What was going right offensively tonight?
I thought first half Mara knocking down some shots. That's what we know she's capable of doing that. This was the first game where I felt like she really got in a groove, and I thought some pretty good execution of half court offense in terms of Ina and kind of our Spanish contingent, Ina and Paula and Mara and Noelia working very well together to get some things out of a screen and roll and just some really good ball movement, motion offense, getting some easy shots at the rim for Noelia and for Sol, or some good kickouts for our 3-point shooters. And then second half, I thought we had some really nice transition baskets. I thought we got some good defensive stops. I thought Candy, got running the floor, and we found her very well on that. And so kind of a combination of things. With these guys, I have to let them play a little bit more than probably teams in the past, and resist the very strong urge sometimes to control what's going on out on the court, because they're typically better at making decisions when I allow them to make decisions. So that's a learning process for me. And but for such a young team, they play at a very high level at different times during the game, and we need to just increase the amount of time and consistency at which we play at that level, at that high level.
I feel like Paula kind of deserves her flowers. Early on in the season, especially defensively, 3 steals, 9 points. It doesn't feel like she's missed all of last year.
Yeah.
What can you say about her performance so far in the season, especially tonight?
Well, I think that year, the year that Paula spent out and rehabbing last year, I mean, she's grown tremendously. She's a completely different player with a completely different mindset than what she had her freshman year. Her freshman year was, I think she second guessed herself a lot. I think she lost confidence. I think she's very timid out on the floor. And really, I think having to sit out for a season and see the game from a different point of view, understand how we coach and the expectations, and getting more comfortable with the physicality and with, just having an opportunity to get stronger physically. And she's grown into her role. And I think every game she plays, she gets more confident. She's a really, again, another one of those very highly intelligent players on the floor. And when she plays with confidence and with assertiveness, and when she really engages defensively, she helps us a lot.
And then Ina only took one shot, but she ended up with 10 assists. How is she able to kind of manipulate the game? Not well, not just scoring, but like passing, rebounding, all the above.
Yeah, Ina's amazing. She's probably the most intelligent player I've ever coached. She sees the game at with such maturity and such a high IQ, and understands where people should be, and how to get them in those situations, and how to get the right people the ball at the right time. She's just really really skilled. And probably the thing that she, if you can critique her game, it is her, you know, her unselfishness. Sometimes you'd really like her to set herself up for some shots, and she is a very capable shooter. She's a really good 3-point shooter. She's got a nice pull up shot. But I think adding that to her game as she grows and matures, she's a handful.
And then Seoul, obviously, her debut after missing last year as well, 14 points off the bench. What can you say overall? I think she started 6 of 6 from the field. So,
Yeah.
what does she bring to the table moving forward?
Hopefully she continues. We, having her available in practice, over the last, probably 3 weeks in at least a limited fashion, that made our practices better. How hard she goes, her physical strength, her really good footwork down low, her communication. So, we knew that she was making us better on the practice floor, and we hoped that would translate to what she did in a game situation, and really it did. It was great to have her out there. I know how excited she was to get back on the court, and hopefully that's something for us to build on, and just another piece that we can count on moving forward.
And then back here on Sunday against Monterey Bay, a program that you're quite familiar with from back in your D2 days. What's the message heading into that game?
We keep building. This entire non-conference season, we're going to go back. On Friday, we're going to watch some of the film from this game, end of this game, and, continue to learn from how can we be better when we're in that situation again. We're going to continue to, even just game preparation, that's new for all of us. So, we've handled our game preparation really well and executed our scouts pretty well for the most part. So, just continuing to stack those things together and, teach this young group what it takes to be consistent over the course of a season.